From Batman and Supergirl's devastating deaths to the weirdest cameos and others that were cut out, here are some of the Flash plot twists fans were not expecting. First up, let's address the bat in the room, or more precisely, the lack thereof. Brace yourselves because I'm about to dive headfirst into spoiler territory. In the movie, Batman, Supergirl, and two Barrys from different timelines all travel to an open desert to battle Zod. During their face-off, they find out that his universe has no Superman because Zod killed him when he was just an infant. In the ensuing fight, our vigilante hero, Batman, meets a grim end. I don't know about you, but I did not see that coming at all. Nobody expected Gotham's beloved hero to fall that easily. I mean, it's Batman. Losing our dear Supergirl, meanwhile, was equally surprising and heartbreaking. Seriously, folks, this double whammy hit me harder than a lightning bolt from the Speed Force. Now, the younger of the two Barrys travels back in time to try and reverse his friends' fates, but they die again and again and again, no matter what Barry does. All the while, the older Barry begs him to stop, trying to convince him that their deaths are probably fixed points, aka inevitable intersections. And here's where things get weirder. Barry travels back in time so much, a portal opens up in the cosmic mist of the Speed Force, and Dark Flash steps out of it. Fans have only ever seen him in promo reels from the movie, but this is his first appearance in an actual movie. This is also where we get to see all of the film's cameos. And one thing's for sure, they did not disappoint. We got Helen Slater as Supergirl, Adam West as Batman, Nicolas Cage as Superman from that Tim Burton movie that was scrapped, and even a CGI Christopher Reeve as Superman. You'd think that'd be it for the film's surprises, right? You'd be wrong. Remember when we were all thrilled to see Ben Affleck return to the role? Well, surprise! In an uncanny twist, it's George Clooney hiding behind the cowl, not Ben Affleck. Just when we thought we had it all figured out, the movie pulled a fast one on us. That said, after Barry and the Dark Flash's fight, Barry's thrown into a timeline where he meets Batman. But it's not the Batman you'd expect. It's George Clooney stepping out as Bruce Wayne. Talk about a throwback to the 1990s. And the look he gives Barry makes it clear that he knows who he is in this universe. While Clooney's Batman has his charm, it's safe to say this twist left us all feeling like we'd slipped into an alternate timeline. Let me dive into this bat switch a bit deeper. The reason behind the twist is so shocking because it defies all expectations. In comic book lore, Batman's identity has always been consistent. He's Bruce Wayne, and in recent times, the face behind that name is Ben Affleck. Throwing Clooney into the mix disturbs the continuity we've all grown so used to. It felt a bit like a batarang coming out of left field. And let's be honest, while we appreciate a good plot twist, this one left us feeling a tad bamboozled. What's even more surprising is that what the fans got in the final cut wasn't the original plan for the ending at all. Sure, there was always going to be a big twist, but we didn't know exactly what it would be. Did you know that this resulted from all the chaos that's been going on at Warner Bros. Discovery for a while now? Initially, the then-boss Walter Hamada saw The Flash as a reset for the DC Extended Universe. The majority of the film was produced under his leadership, with Hamada trying his best to steer it away from Zack Snyder's Man of Steel universe, especially after how poorly received Justice League was. He wanted to give The Flash a twist ending no one would expect, and one that would pave the way for a sequel. In the ending he had imagined, Barry would still end up on the steps of the courthouse, but Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl would be with him. But then, with all the changes at Discovery and Warner Brothers, Hamada was kicked out, and so was his vision for the story. At this point, The Flash was still seen as a great way to shift the DC line of films, even under the studio's new leadership. Their plan was to shift back to how things were before. Flash and Supergirl would be joined by Henry Cavill's Superman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman instead. They also decided to go with Keaton instead of Ben Affleck as Batman. The whole thing was set up by having Cavill appear at the end of Black Adam, hinting at his return to the franchise. We all know what happened with that. James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios and introduced a whole new vision for the DCU with a harder reset than any of the others. They didn't want to bring back Cavill, and neither did they want to make any promises to fans by bringing back Gadot. So that's a second ending that was scrapped. Which brings me to the third and final ending that they did keep, That's when they reached out to Clooney to reprise his role as Batman, and we got one of the biggest twists in The Flash. Now, let's shift our focus to another interesting facet of the film: the absence of the Man of Steel. Superman is usually a staple in any DC Universe story, but this time we had to make do with his Kryptonian cousin, Supergirl. Don't get me wrong, I love Supergirl, and she's more than capable of holding her own. But having only her without Superman in the mix? It's kind of like a peanut butter sandwich without the jelly. It's still pretty good, but you can't help but feel like something's missing. Do you think this could be a strategic move to shift the spotlight onto lesser explored characters? Or a narrative twist to make viewers feel like the weight of a universe where Superman just doesn't exist? Either way, it was a bold move that added to the film's many surprises. The rest of the surprises I'm going to talk about aren't ones that fans are happy about. For starters, viewers felt that many of the cameos were too forced. Okay, sure, superhero movies are almost always fan service, but some movies can handle that with class, while others mess it up completely. Look at Across the Spider-Verse and No Way Home, for instance. Both of them did a phenomenal job of telling their respective stories while making fans happy. The Flash, on the other hand, was all over the place with its cameos, which had people asking why any of it was necessary. Pretty much every other choice the creators made was a weird one, rather than a nice little throwback that would excite the audience. Fans may have been disappointed by how the cameos were handled in the movie, but this next bit left them outraged. Some of their favorites were left out of the final cut. Apparently, a bunch of pretty awesome cameos were either cut or rejected. I already talked about Cavill's Superman and Gadot's Wonder Woman being cut, but there are more. Even Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam was left out of the film. He was supposed to rekindle the DCEU, especially after his solo film. But since the movie was met with a negative response from critics and fans alike, Johnson ended up not participating in the Flash movie. Even Grant Gustin's Flash was supposed to make an appearance, which would have been pretty cool and would have made complete sense, considering that the Flash was meant to reset the DCU, while also paying homage to all the prior adventures in the universe. Unfortunately, though, there just didn't seem to be enough room for Gustin's Flash. Lynda Carter was yet another one who didn't make the cut. Carter's Wonder Woman is probably the most iconic one out there, but even she was left on the cutting room floor during production. Unused footage of Marlon Brando as Superman's father was also almost used for the film, but eventually the idea was scrapped altogether. So were Burgess Meredith's Penguin and Cesar Romero's Joker. Their cameos are probably lying somewhere in archival footage. These are all people who were filmed, and the creators did plan on including them in the film. They just decided to get rid of their footage at the last moment. For a movie that played so heavily on nostalgia, fans fully expected short appearances from most of these actors. But they were let down, and more than just a little shocked to see that the studio had cut out such gems from the final cut. So there you have it. From the weirdest cameos and others that were cut out to Batman and Supergirl's devastating deaths, those were some of the Flash plot twists that fans were not expecting.